Welcome. Welcome to this session on sex hormones. I'm Dr. Ahmed Nawaz Khan from School of Pharmacy. This lecture is for instructional and educational purpose only. This is not a medical advice or suggestion. What are sex hormones? These are the sex steroids, which are also known as gonadocorticoids and gonadal steroids. These sex steroid or sex hormones, they interact with vertebrate steroid hormone receptors. They include androgens, estrogens, and progestogens. These sex hormones, they their effects are mediated by slow genomic mechanism and non-genomic mechanism. By slow genomic mechanism, they work through the nuclear receptors, while with the fast non-genomic mechanism, they work through the membrane-associated receptors and signaling cascades. So this sex hormone and sex steroid, they are used synonymously. There are some polypeptide hormones. You have heard about the luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormones, gonadotropin releasing hormones. They are usually not regarded as the sex hormones, although they play a very important role in sex related issues or sex related matters. These natural sex steroids, they are made by the gonads. That's why they are known as the gonadocorticoids. And these made by the gonads, which are ovaries and testes, and also by adrenal glands. They also form by the conversion from other sex steroids in other tissues such as liver. There are two main classes of these sex steroids, which are androgens and estrogens. One more is the progestinogens, but the two are very important, androgens and estrogens. Androgens, the example is testosterone, and the estrogen example is estradiol. While the progestogens, which is the third class of these sex steroids, they are very distinct from the androgen and estrogen. The example is the progesterone, which is example of progestogen. It is considered one of the most important and only natural occurring human progesterogens. These androgens, they are considered as male sex hormones because they have masculinizing effect, while estrogens and progestogens, they are considered as female sex hormones. But remember, very important point, that these all of these three hormones, types of hormones, they are present in each gender or sex at different level. Now, natural and synthetic sex steroids or sex hormones. So there are three: progestogens, androgens, and estrogens. The example of the progestogens are the progesterone, which comes from the pregnenolone, and they again it will converted into allopregnin diol, which further converted to allopregnanolone. In the same way, androgen, which is androstenedione, and which comes from the dihydropyranediol, like testosterone, which comes from the androstenediol, and that further convert to the dihydroestrone. Estrogens, just like estrone or estradiol, estrone gives 2-hydroxyestrone or 6-16 alpha hydroxysterone. Estradiol, which gives 2-hydroxyestradiol and or from estradiol we get the estriol and then estriol. There are also many synthetic steroids, sex steroids. These synthetic androgens are often referred as the anabolic steroids, and synthetic estrogen and progestins, they are used in method of hormonal contraceptions. So synthetic steroids are there in many numbers, like just like ethinyl estradiol, which is a semi-synthetic estrogen. This is a picture. We show that the biosynthesis of steroid hormones, and this is very simple picture. We show that from the cholesterol, which is a 27 carbon cholesterol, it gives the progestogens, which is a 21 carbon. Androgens, which is a 19 carbon moiety, and estrogen, which is an 18 carbon. From this progestogens, there is glucocorticoids form, which again it is of 21 carbon, and the mineral corticoids. So now let's discuss some of the synthetic or some natural sex steroids which are used for the medicinal purpose. The first is testosterone. You can see the structure of this testosterone, and this belongs to a class of organic compound known as the androgen and its derivatives. These are the 3-hydroxylated C19 steroids, the carbon 19 steroids hormones. They are known to favor the development of masculine characteristics, and they also show very profound effect on the scalp and on body hairs in humans. These testosterones, which is a sex hormone indicated or used to treat the primary hypogonadism and hypogonadotropic hypogonadism. This testosterone, it antagonizes the androgen receptor to induce gene expression. This gene expression which cause the growth and development of masculine sex organ and also secondary sexual characteristics in men. Actually, this testosterone, it exists. There are some androgen receptors which exist in the cytoplasm bound to heat shock proteins, and these heat shock proteins, they are HSP90, heat shock protein HSP90 and heat shock protein HSP70, and there are some chaperones. So after binding to an androgens, the androgen receptors, they dissociate from HSP19 and undergoes a conformational change to slow the rate of dissociation from the androgen receptors. The androgen receptors make a complex, then it is transported into the nucleus where it binds to a DNA and recruits other transcriptional regulators to form a pre-initiated complex and eventually induce the expression of specific genes. This is the mechanism of action. This testosterone and its active metabolite dihydrotestosterone, also known as DHT, it antagonizes the androgen receptors to develop the masculine sex organs, including prostate, seminal vesicle, penis, and scrotum. Remember that the antagonizing of the androgen receptor is also responsible for the development of secondary sexual character, including facial and body hair, enlargement of the larynx, thickening of the vocal cords, and change in the muscle and fat distribution. This testosterone is an agonist for the androgen receptor, while it is an inhibitor for the estrogen receptor or alpha estrogen receptors. Now the next is nandrolone phenpropionate. This nandrolone phenpropionate is a carbon 18 steroid with androgenic and anabolic properties. It is generally prepared by from alkyl ethers of estradiol, and it very resemble to the testosterone, but less one carbon because it is carbon 18 steroids and the testosterone is carbon 19 steroids, but less it having a less one carbon at 19th position. This compound it belongs to a class of organic compound known as steroid ester because it comes from the alkyl ether of the estradiols. These are the compound containing a steroid moiety which bears a carboxylic acid ester group. You can see in the structure. This nandrolone it is used for the treatment of refractory deficient red cell production anemias, breast carcinoma, hereditary angioedema, antithrombin third deficiency, fibrinogen excess, growth failures, and Turner syndrome. Hereditary angioedema is basically a area of painless swelling of the lower layer of skin, and just like the swelling may occur on the face, tongue, larynx, abdomen, legs, arms, this is an indication of angioedema. So this nandrolone is used for this angioedema, breast carcinoma, anemias, etc. And if we talk about the Turner syndrome, what is Turner syndrome? It is a condition which affect only females and result when one of the X chromosome, which is a sex chromosome, is missing or partially missing. This is known as the Turner syndrome. This nandrolone is an anabolic steroid which occur naturally in the human body, however in a very small quantity. This nandrolone is bound to the receptor complex which allow it to enter to the nucleus and bind directly to a specific nucleotide sequences of the chromosomal DNA. They bind to directly specific nucleotide sequence of the chromosomal DNA. The area of binding are called the hormone response element HREs. And this drug influences the transcriptional activity of certain genes like the testosterone and also producing the androgen effects. Now the next drug is progesterone. This is the IUPAC name of the progesterone, and this progesterone it belongs to a class of organic compound known as the gluco or mineralocorticoids, progestogens and derivatives. These are the steroids with a structure based on hydroxylated prostein moiety. So this hormone, it occurs naturally in the female and is very essential for the endometrial receptivity or embryo implantation and successful establishment of the pregnancy. Remember, a low progesterone concentration or insufficient response of the progesterone can cause infertility and pregnancy loss. So that means we need a proper amount of the progesterone in female body. Progesterone is used in various contraceptive preparations also to prevent the ovulation and fertilization. This is again very important to be noted that the depend on the dose. It works for both. It has for the establishment of the pregnancy and for prevent the ovulation and fertilization. It depends on dose. This progesterone, it is made from the plant source. There are um, some plants which have this progesterone. 2 decades ago, the walnut, common walnut or English walnut tree, they contain the progesterone. This hormone is also present in that tree, leaves of the common walnut and English walnut. This progesterone is available in gelatinized capsule, vaginal gels, or tablet form, vaginal insert forms, injections for different purpose. So overall, this progesterone is used uh, for the in the form of vaginal gels, vaginal insert, injection, and it is used for the abnormal uh, uterine uterine bleeding or amenorrhea, pregnancy, secondary amenorrhea, female infertility, and endometrial hyperplasia, which are caused by the conjugated estrogens. This progesterone is also used in some therapies, just like assisted reproductive technique, which are known as ART, or assisted reproductive technologies therapy. So overall, we can say that the progesterone, depending on the concentration and the dosage form and the time of exposure, they have several pharmacodynamic effects. So actually, these progesterone, they bind and activate the progesterone receptors, which is a nuclear receptors. And these receptors, they play important role in signaling of the stimuli that maintain the endometrium part, which is the vagina, during its preparation of the pregnancy. This progesterone receptor PR is a member of nuclear steroid hormone receptor, which is a ligand dependent transcription factors. So this progesterone is having a agonist activity on the progesterone receptor, while it is an agonist inhibitor on estrogen receptor alpha. That's why it prevent ovulation and fertilization, and it also do the establishment of pregnancy because it is an agonist for the progesterone receptors. Now, next is oestrion or estrone. There are three major forms of the physiological estrogens in females. One is the estrone, known as E1, estradiol, E2 or 17 beta estradiol, and the third one is estriol, E3. Each form of these estrogen, E1, E2, E3, that means estrone, estradiol, and estriol, they are present, they present different product which are comes or delivered from the cholesterol by a series of reactions during the estrogen biosynthesis. Just like E1, which is play a larger role after the menopause, and when it is synthesized in the adipose tissue from adrenal, dehydroepiandrosterone. E2, which is a major product from the whole biosynthesis process and most potent estrogen during the premenopausal period in a woman's life. So E1, which is a larger role after the menopause, and E2 during premenopausal period. E3 is a very least potent estrogen and it is formed from E1 through the 16 alpha hydroxylation, and it play important role during the pregnancy when this E3 is produced in large quantity by the placenta. So now the first is estrone, which is E1, and so it is an aromatized carbon 18 steroid with a 3 hydroxyl group and a 17 ketone group. This estrone is produced in vivo from androstenedione or from testosterone via estradiol. It is produced primarily in the ovaries, placenta, peripheral tissues, especially the adipose tissues, and through a conversion of androstenediones. This estrone, it may also further metabolize to an 16 alpha hydroxynestrone, which is maybe reduced by estriol by estradiol dehydrogenase enzyme. So this estrone, it is used for the management or premenopausal or postmenopausal symptoms. Also used in the vulvovaginal atrophy. These estrogens, they enter the cell of responsive tissues, just like female organs, breast, hypothalamus, and pituitary, where these estrogens, they interact with the estrogen receptor, and these hormone bound estrogen receptors, they dimerize, translocate to the nucleus, and bind to the estrogen response element of genes, ERE genes. So binding to these ERE genes, they alter the transcription rate of the affected genes. In such a way, they show their action. Now the next is estriol or estriol. This compound again belongs to a class of organic compound which are from the estrogen, because this is a E2 and its derivative, and These are the steroids with the structure containing a 3-hydroxylated estradiol moiety. So this is a hydroxylated metabolite of estradiol or estrone that has a hydroxyl group at carbon third position in form of beta configuration. 16 alpha and 17 beta position. This estriol is a major urinary estrogen, and during pregnancy large amount of the estriol is produced by the placenta. So this estriol is one of the main three estrogens, E1, E2 and 3. So this is E2. This estriol level can be measured to give an indication of general health of the fetus. So the physician or the gynecologist, they recommend a test which is known as the DRS. DRS is the dihydroepiandrosterone sulfate test. Basically this is a male hormone, androgen. DRS is a male hormone and it is made in the adrenal gland. So this test is used for checking the general health of the fetus in the womb of a mother. So this estriol level is checked because it gives the indication of the health of the fetus. So that's why for this the DRS test is done. Now the next compound is estradiol. This estradiol, it belongs to a class of the estrogen and the derivatives, and with a structure containing 3-hydroxylated estrane. This is one of the 3 important estrogen, which is E3, and it occurs in a circulating endogenously manner in females. This is commercially available in several hormone therapies, and it is used for managing the condition which are associated with reduced estrogen, just like vulvovaginal atrophy and some hot flashes. And it is available in a number of forms, like the estrogens in the form of vaginal rings, transdermal patches, gels, spray, injection, tablets, creams. And so it is used in XB vulvovaginal atrophy. It is also used in the breast cancer, atrophic vaginitis, even premature ovarian failure, postmenopausal osteoporosis, and female castration, and so forth. In the therapies, it also used in the contraception, because this estrogen is found in the breast, uterine, ovarian, skin, prostate, bone, even brain tissues. The main source of this estrogen is, we know that the adult woman during the reproductive period in the ovarian follicles, and this secretes around 70 to 500 microgram of estradiol each day. This estradiol, which is E3, it is considerably more potent than estrone and estriol at the estrogen receptor, ER. Now the next is diethyl estradiol. This is a synthetic non-steroidal estrogen. used in the treatment of menopausal and post-menopausal disorder. Actually, this drug was used formerly for the growth promoter in the animals. However, in around 1985, the FDA reported that in its fourth annual report on carcinogen, they report that this diethylbestrol is having a carcinogenic activity or effect. So, because having the carcinogenic activity, it is used in the treatment of the prostate cancer. And previously, it was used for the prevention of the miscarriage or the premature delivery in the pregnant woman, which is prone to miscarriage or premature delivery. This overall, these estrogens which are diffused into the target cell and they interact with the protein receptors, which are the estrogen receptors. So this diethylbestrol is also work on the estrogen receptors, which are maybe the beta estrogen, whether they are the beta estrogen receptor, they are gamma or beta or alpha. This diethylbestrol is also work on the androgen receptors, steroid hormone receptors, and nuclear receptors. So this is about the sex hormones or sex steroids.